At first glance, the US economy appears to be holding its own. Unemployment remains relatively low and consumers are still spending. But a closer look reveals significant cracks in the foundation, creating a growing sense of unease among businesses and workers alike. The most immediate pain for Americans is felt at the grocery store and the gas pump. Inflation has stubbornly persisted, driving up costs of everyday essentials far faster than wages. This relentless squeeze on household budgets is forcing families to cut back on non-essential spending, which then in return has a drag on broader economic growth. The labor market, too, is showing signs of strains, signaling a period of slower growth far beyond the US borders. When the American economy struggles, the ripple effect is felt globally.
With the deportations, which only increase the cost of construction, which increases the cost of housing, which increases the cost of things like chicken and all sorts of things. So, look, if I were in the Trump administration shoes, I'd say, aha, see, it all started under Biden. That's nice. It's still now on your watch, and your policies, it looked like now are adding on, sort of creating even more headwinds that were already there.
I think the thing that to me is most interesting about these numbers is manufacturing. There is some real problems right now in the manufacturing sector that are being hit by tariffs that had started earlier. But this whole idea that somehow manufacturing was going to be resurgent, I think is really showing a lot of weakness. And those are numbers that I look at. We see these big numbers and these big revisions. It was the biggest revision, I think, ever. And that is serious.
It still fits into a mosaic of a slowing labor market. I don't deny that. I think the economy is gradually grinding to a halt here. But I think
what is your definition or description, rather, of what the Trump economy is today?
Dead in the water.
By that you mean?
If you look out there in the labor market, no one's getting hired. It's just stalled.
Things are frozen.
Stalled. Absolutely. There's some bad parts. Like, manufacturing is in open decline. We're down almost 40,000 jobs this year. The private sector in the past 4 months outside of healthcare has not really shown any job growth. So that's a very flat labor market.
And when the Treasury Secretary said last week, Scott Bessent, that there will be higher GDP growth and nearly $1 trillion in tariff revenue, you said to yourself, what?
Gibberish. Makes no sense. I mean, these are positions the president has taken. We're going to have better growth. This will be the golden age. We're going to raise all this revenue, but they're not connected to reality.
I heard Tim O'Brien at the top of the hour say, and he's absolutely correct, we've only seen a portion of the tariffs come through into the indicators and the statistics that we watch. There's yet more to come, maybe double what we've seen so far.
Trying to be as polite as I can in the sentence that follows this one. Trump is really messing up the US economy. We're not talking about just a little bit going wrong now. We're talking about a total and utter flipping disaster. That's how badly things are going in the USA. And there's no point Trump trying to pretend anymore that this has anything to do with Biden. It hasn't. It has everything to do with Trump. No new jobs are being created in the USA. Last month, it was thought that 20,000 jobs were created in the single month, a record low for a long period of time. The US normally adds 250,000 new jobs a month. This figure is staggeringly small. The slowdown is very real. And we know.
So how did the US get there? Well, a series of policies decisions have placed the US in a precarious position. The orange idiots' widespread tariffs, essentially an import tax on Americans' consumers.
A little better. Remember, tariff is a tax. We developed very sophisticated supply chains with Canada and Mexico, which benefited all countries. And that's been disrupted by all the uncertainty now, 50% on aluminum or steel or whatever. And so if they can get some sanity back to that, that would be to the good. But in terms of the quicker they do it, the better. But, remember, they're saying Japan, only 15%. That is a wedge. What they forget is a tariff is a wedge between buyers and sellers, producers and consumers. And the more wedge you have, the more it's going to hurt the economy. So the only question in my mind is, how damaging will it be? The administration would boast that they're having a $4 trillion tax increase over the next 10 years, which is what they say they're going to raise from tariffs. Tariffs are taxes. As Warren Buffett said, that money's not being paid by the tooth fairy. At least half of it's coming out of the pockets of the American people. And Republicans boasting about taking $2 trillion plus out of the pockets of the American people, not a good thing.
Combined with his investment extortions of international partners, alienated key allies and led to rising cost of imported goods and crippling industries that rely on imported material. On top of that, stringent immigration policies that created humanitarian crises and deprived industries like construction and lodging of vital workers, leading to labor shortages and further economic disruptions. The agricultural sector was hit particularly hard, with many farmers facing financial ruin due to lost export markets and rising costs.
Tell me about what's happening with your farm.
Well, we've got a real disaster with this tariff deal. I mean, we produce 40% more agricultural products in this country than we can consume domestically. 1 in every 4 rows of soybeans in every field in the entire United States of America has to go abroad. China is the largest importer of soybeans in the world. They import 61% of the world's market. Last year, we sent around $12 billion, I think $14 billion worth of soybeans the year before. For the first time in 20 years, China's bought 0 soybeans and 0 new crop corn out of this country.
0?
So we went from 12 billion to 0. And I met a lot of guys that farm up north that sings a lot different song than they sung 7 months ago or 8 months ago.
The global reaction has been severe. A movement that began here in Canada by anything but American has gained traction, encouraging consumers and governments to seek alternatives to US goods and services. We Canadians have also started a significant travel boycott, which has been adopted by many other countries around the world, first and foremost by Europeans. The consequences are stark. US international travel revenue is projected to go down, resulting in an estimated loss of over $21 billion, a $23 billion reduction to the GDP, and the elimination of more than 230,000 jobs. The orange fascist gangsters' dishonesty, corruption, and dismissiveness of human rights have severely damaged America's reputation. Foreign leaders are furious, and their response has been substantial. Key military contracts, once a reliable source of US income, is now being awarded to other countries. Denmark, for instance, chose a European air defense system over the American Patriot system. An $8 billion decision that followed strained diplomatic relations. Similar, Portugal selected French fighter jets over American F-35s for its NATO fleet modernization. The perception of an unreliable America under weak, questionable leadership has emboldened enemies. When Russian drones breached NATO airspace, the pathetic and ineffective response from the incompetent White House was seen as a green light by Putin for further escalations. Trump's pathetic weakness, coupled by his removal of sanctions on Russia and a much criticized Alaska summit that was portrayed as a propaganda victory for Putin, has led allies questioning America's commitment to a collective security. All that is why investing in or partnering with the US is now seen as an unnecessary risk. And Americans feel the economic consequences of Trump's action, or, in some cases, inaction. The combination of lost international contracts, reduced foreign investment, and a hostile trade environment has taken a direct toll. US factory employment has sunk to a 5-year low of 37,000 manufacturing jobs lost. A path to a prosperous and secure economic future after Trump will be very difficult to navigate. In contrast to the US, Canada, under the leadership of Mark Carney, has a very good chance to get through and out of this Trump-induced international disaster. Better and economically stronger than our country has ever been. Here's why. Since Mark Carney became our Prime Minister in April this year, he worked hard to adjust our country to the new world order of international trade and security. Mark Carney made it clear what's happening right now in the global economy is not a transition but a rupture, and Canada must adjust big time, not only to get through this crisis, but on the other side be a better, healthier and more prosperous country as we have ever been before. By stop being reliant on a single untrustworthy trading partner, by diversifying trade and security, and first and foremost building an economy that finds strength in trading within the country instead of giving our profit to the untrustworthy neighbor south the border. So, Prime Minister Mark Carney just made a big announcement in Edmonton about his government's first wave of 5 major national projects. The main goal here is to really boost and future-proof Canada's economy, especially with all the trade tensions going on with the US. Here's the rundown of what's gotten the green light so far. Number 1, LNG Canada Phase 2 in Kitimat, BC. This is a very massive expansion that will double Canada's LNG production. It's a big shift from the previous government, and Carney's team is actively promoting Canadian LNG to the new markets in Europe, like Germany. Number 2, the Darlington New Nuclear Project in Bowmanville, Ontario. This is a really cool one. It would make Canada the first G7 country to get a small modular reactor, which is a new, cleaner type of nuclear technology up and running. The Contrecoeur Terminal Project in Quebec. This project will expand the Port of Montreal's capacity by a whopping 60%, which is huge for shipping and trade. Number 4, the McIlvenna Bay Foreign Copper Mine in Saskatchewan, a major new mining operation in the east-central part of the province. Number 5, the Red Chris Mine expansion in BC. This is an expansion of an existing mine in the northwest part of the province. Together, those 5 projects represents a monster $60+ billion investment into the Canadian economy. But wait, there's more. The government also has its eyes on a second list of projects that are still in the early planning stages. The projects are the Wind West Atlantic Energy in Nova Scotia, Pathway Plus in Alberta, an Arctic Economic Security Sector, Port of Churchill Plus in Manitoba, the Alto High-Speed Rail. The Major Project Office, MPO, is being led by a former Trans Mountain executive named Don Farrell. Its job is to cut through the red tape and get the already approved projects moving quickly, while also helping to develop the ones on the second list. All this is possible because the Carney government has passed, in record time I may say, Bill C-5 back in June. But wait, there is even more. Just a couple weeks ago, Mark Carney wrapped up his 4th trip to Europe in just 5 months. And by all accounts, it was a huge success for Canada. The trip kicked off with a surprise visit to Ukraine before heading to Poland. This was a big deal because it was his first official visit with Poland's new prime minister and really strengthening our ties with that whole region. This wasn't Canada's first talk with Poland in recent months. This year alone we have seen some major wins with Poland. A nuclear security deal signed back in January, a landmark agreement for Poland to buy an Airbus that's built in Quebec using some Polish parts, which is a win-win for both economies. But wait, there's even more. Carney also locked in some awesome new opportunities. Number one, Defense and Expo Spotlight. Here, Canada scored the desirable leading nation spot at a major defense expo in Poland. This is a prime opportunity to show off Canadian manufacturing on a big stage. This follows the massive 1.3 trillion defense spending plan unveiled by the recent EU-Canada summit. Also a critical mineral partnership. Europe is desperate for critical rare earth minerals for defense and green tech. And Canada is sitting on a potential gold mine with about 200 mineral mines. This is already happening with Canadian mineral companies making investments in Poland and Germany. This whole alignment opens up massive doors for Canadian businesses in a few key sectors. Energy, especially nuclear, with small modular reactors, and Poland wants them, making Canadian expertise super valuable. The defense industry, Canadian firms are already setting up shop in Poland, getting ready for the eventual huge project of rebuilding the Ukraine. And aerospace, this is already the biggest trading sector between Poland and Canada, and it's still growing. The bottom line, Carney is strategically positioning Canada to be more independent so that we can make deals with the US and other countries from a position of strength, making deals not because we have to, but because it benefits us. It seems like there is a positive outcome from that whole Trump-induced trade war situation. And that is pushing Canada to build stronger, more profitable relationships around the world. Good times ahead, indeed. Please let me know what you think on this subject in the comments below. I read every thought and story you share. For more commentaries on real news, facts and viewpoints to counterbalance the demagogic of the right-wing media, please like and subscribe. It goes a long way to help the channel. Till next time, I'm Wilfried Lemkuler from Europe Curious.
We were petrified, kept thinking we could never live without you by our side. And we spent so many nights thinking how you did us wrong. Now we've banded all together. Your tariff made us strong, and so you know you're not so great. There's not a snowball's chance in hell will be your 51st state. You really need our resources far more than we need you, so now just go. Walk out the door. We do not need you. You're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who instigated these trade fights? You'll soon grow to regret it when we turn off your lights. We will survive. We will survive. There's mission. It's coming new. We're not that fledgling little country stealing all of you. We are now a nation proud that is happy to be free. That's enough. Go on, Canada.